I'm going to come right out and say it. I think the Miami Heat in the very near future are going to be playing at a much higher level than what we're seeing right now. And that says a lot because the Miami Heat, I think they're playing fairly decent and they're being very competitive. Right now, they have a record of 18-12, which is good enough to have them at 5th place in a very, very talented Eastern Conference. And they also have won 3 straight games and they won 7 out of their last 10 ball games. So the Miami Heat are playing really good, and the reason I think they're going to take things to a different level is because the Miami Heat are still dealing with the same circumstance that they've been dealing with for maybe over the last 2, maybe the last 1.5 years, and that's the injuries to their best players. So far this season, Bam Adebayo has missed 10 out of 30 games, Jimmy Butler has missed 7 out of 30 games, and Tyler Herro has missed 18 out of 30 games. So that's a lot of games without your best players. But just like we've seen over the last few years, the Miami Heat just have this special talent of taking the role players and pulling out the absolute best of them so that they can be competitive against the good teams and sometimes even beat teams where in situations that they were the underdogs because they are missing the best players on their team. And we've seen this formula has worked for the Miami Heat over these last 2 seasons. We've seen them get to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 straight times, and then last year the Miami Heat got all the way to the NBA Finals where unfortunately they came up short against the Denver Nuggets. But nonetheless, we look at the Miami Heat, we look at them as a whole, I think they're going to get so much better. And one guy that I'm so big on for this Miami Heat team, because he received a lot of criticism over the summer. He was made fun of when he was getting brought up in the Damian Lillard trade by the NBA fans on social media, and that guy is Tyler Herro, and I think he's having a spectacular season. And I think if he didn't miss so many games, I think he would definitely be in the conversation for the All-Star game. But it's been so many guys playing good in the Eastern Conference, and they've all played more games than Tyler Herro. I think they're going to get the nod over him. But nonetheless, we look at his numbers, I think he's definitely having an All-Star caliber season for the Miami Heat. And what those numbers look like for Tyler Herro so far this season: 24 points per game right on the dot to go along with 4 assists, 5 rebounds, and he's been ultra efficient so far this season. 45% from the field, 42% from the 3-point line, and 86% from the free throw line. And Tyler Herro, he'd probably be averaging 25 plus points per game if it wasn't for the game that he got injured very early, where he was cooking early. He had 6 points in about 8 minutes of play, so he probably would have got it to at least 20 points that game. So his points per game could be a little higher, but nonetheless, we all knew this was going to be a very important season for Tyler Herro. We heard Pat Riley say over the offseason, I don't know if it was this offseason or the previous offseason, but I remember Pat Riley saying they need Bam Adebayo or Tyler Herro to become a guy that can put up 25 points per game, or a minimum 25 points per game. And it looks like Tyler Herro has stepped up and accepted that challenge. And I think it all came down to Tyler Herro, because he's still playing the same way. He's still getting to his spots. He's still a 3-level scorer. He can still get downhill. I think this season was just going to come down to him being able to take on more volume, being able to take on more of a workload, because the more that you have the basketball in your hands, it gets harder. First of all, it's very tiring. Having, like, his usage rating right now is at 30%, which is very high. It's very hard having the ball in your hands for that amount of time. You're orchestrating, you're trying to score, you're trying to make sure you keep your teammates involved. And then most importantly, the more you have the basketball in your hands, the more the opposing teams are going to game plan just for you, and they start to catch on to your moves and they start to know what you're going to do, and you still got to find a way to be effective. And Tyler Herro, who's still very young, still under the age of 25, so far this season, he's handling that volume and that workload very well. And when he's scoring 24 points per game, I think it makes the Miami Heat a very, very different team. So I just wanted to give a lot of credit to Tyler Herro, and I think with the way that he's playing right now, how efficient he is, the more he's having the basketball in his hands, the Miami Heat are going to be a much harder basketball team to stop on the offensive side of the ball. And Bam Adebayo, he's another player that has answered the call for the Miami Heat this season when it came to taking on more of a workload. We look at the Miami Heat right now in terms of usage rating. It goes Tyler Herro, it goes Bam Adebayo, and then it goes Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler, he's been playing off the ball a little bit more so far this season, and I think that's a good thing for the Miami Heat because like I said earlier in the video, Pat Riley, he wants more out of Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro in terms of scoring the basketball. And right now, Bam is averaging a career high in points. He's averaging 22 points per game, around 4 assists per game to go wrong with 10 rebounds, and he's shooting 51% from the field. And Bam Adebayo is still one of the most versatile defenders in all of the NBA, and that's probably my favorite part about Bam Adebayo's game. And I think it's very underrated when you're one of the guys that's one of the best rim protectors in the league, but you're also really good as a perimeter defender. Whenever I watch Bam Adebayo, whether it's in the regular season, whether it's during the playoffs, he has no problems. He has no problem switching on to smaller defenders, guarding them out there on the perimeter and locking them up. And then also, he's a great hedger. He knows how to help on that screen and then still get back and defend the roll. So when you're playing against Bam Adebayo, he's one of those rare defenders that has a control over a lot of things on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, he's really good on the low block. He has a face-up game. He has a meaty game. Great finisher around the rim. You can play the two-man game with him because he's super athletic and he can catch lobs. And then also, he's a very underrated passer. So Bam Adebayo, he deserves a lot of credit this season because he's elevating his level of play, which is very important for the Miami Heat. And then, like we talked about this earlier in the video, the Miami Heat has had a few guys step up in the absence of their best players being injured. Over the last couple of years, we saw it from guys like Gabe Vincent, we saw it from Caleb Martin, we saw it from Max Strus, and two of those guys aren't on the Miami Heat no more. And coincidentally, it's been two guys who I think has just been playing lights out for the Miami Heat and who has been big time so far. One is Duncan Robinson and the other is Jaime Jaquez Jr. And I put an emphasis on Jaquez because the last video I made on the Miami Heat, it was predicated to him, and I kept saying Jaquez instead of Jaquez, and you guys were not happy about that, and you told me how to pronounce it correctly. And I know it's all coming from a good place, and now I know how to pronounce his name the right way, and you guys can enjoy the video a little bit more. But Jaime Jaquez Jr. has been great for the Miami Heat so far this season. Right now, he's putting up 14 points per game, and he's doing it very, very efficiently, 51% from the field and 38% from the three-point line. And last night was a prime example of what we've been talking about in this video. No Jimmy Butler for the Miami Heat last night, and they're playing on Christmas, a big-time game against the Philadelphia 76ers, who didn't have Joel Embiid, but they still had Tyrese Maxey and all of those other really good role players. Kelly Oubre went for 25 plus, I believe, and so did Tobias Harris. So it was a really good game from Jaime Jaquez Jr., where he put up 31 points and 10 rebounds, a very, very efficient double-double for him. And just watching him play is nothing complicated about his game, and I think that's why a lot of people love him, because he's so fundamentally sound and he's so simple. He just makes the right plays. I love the way he plays offensively in the half-court set, in transition without the basketball in his hands. He does a great job of making himself available, whether it's flaring to an open spot in the three-point line or running the floor really hard or cutting to the rim. He does all those things very well, and we usually don't see that from rookies coming into the NBA. It looks like Jaime has been in the league for about 8 years now, and then with the basketball in his hands, he's becoming a player that's he's creating a lot of gravity. Like, he's getting his teammates open off his threat as a post player, and since he's usually in at the 3 or the 4 spot, it's usually going to be the player that's not a center guarding him. And nowadays, there's not too many post defenders that aren't centers in our league today. So he's just got a really good mismatch down there on the block. He has great post moves. He has footwork, and then his touch around the rim is so good. Whether he's going for it off the glass or whether he's trying to get it, or whether he's just floating it up in there, his touch around the rim is really good. And then he's starting to make plays on the defensive side of the ball. He's starting to poke balls loose. He's starting to get steals. He's causing turnovers. So the Miami Heat they hit the jackpot on drafting him this season. He has been spectacular for the Miami Heat so far this season, and so has Duncan Robinson. And Duncan Robinson may not bear the same responsibilities as Duncan Robinson, but this was a pivotal season for him as well. And last season, Duncan Robinson had a bit of a shooting slump, and he kind of got out of it in the playoffs. And me personally, I think he played fairly well in the playoffs, not just his three-point shooting, but his overall play. I thought Duncan Robinson was really good, and he has carried that over to this season. And I say this was a pivotal season for Duncan Robinson because when he was going through his shooting slump, the Miami Heat had another sharpshooter that they could put out there, and that guy was Max Strus, who shot the ball fairly well for majority of the time for the Miami Heat. And we all know Max Strus is now on the Cleveland Cavaliers, so they needed Duncan Robinson to be that sharpshooter that they all know that he can be, and he has taken his game to a whole new level this year. Duncan Robinson right now is averaging 15 points per game, 49% from the field, and 45% from the three-point line. And there's this stat I read today before I made this video. Out of the three-point shooters in the NBA that's taken at least 7 attempts per game, Duncan Robinson has the highest three-point percentage at 45%. And guess who's right behind him? Tyler Herro, and he's around at about, it was like 42.9% for Tyler Herro. So according to the numbers and according to the efficiency, the Miami Heat has the 2 best volume three-point shooters in all of the NBA. So that's a great thing for the Miami Heat. And then other than the three-point shooting, Duncan Robinson has taken his game to a new level. He now has the ability to comfortably and consistently put the basketball on the floor, create shots for himself or create for others, and then also his finishing around the rim has gotten a lot better. So I'm looking at the Miami Heat. They have a lot of great things going for them. They're playing well right now. If the season was to end today, they would be in the playoffs, and we really haven't seen this team at full strength. We haven't seen them knowing how good Jaime Jaquez Jr. is now. We haven't really seen too much of Bam, Jimmy, and Tyler Herro out there. So it's going to be really interesting to see the Miami Heat at full strength. And I know all we keep talking about is Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Boston, but I really don't think the Miami Heat should be slept on. We saw what they did last year in the playoffs, and I think this team is a little bit better than that team we saw last year. But nonetheless, that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.